My husband's nephew shamed and slandered me during a family event. Despite our significant financial contribution to his education, what followed was a confrontation that served as a memorable lesson for him. I'm 39, and my husband, Jake, 42, has been married to me for over 15 years. Our marriage has been wonderful. But a few years ago, we faced infertility. We desperately wanted children and tried everything, but nothing worked. Adoption was an option, but the process was extensive. And with both of us working full-time, we worried about dedicating enough time to a child. We decided to put that plan on hold. Things soured when Max finished high school. We asked about his college plans, but he replied, "I don't want to go to college. Just give me the money instead." He wanted to start a business, vaguely something online, without any real plan. Jake and I were confused. College money wasn't pocket change. We told him we needed time to consider. Max just shrugged. A couple of weeks later, he began hounding us, texting constantly, acting as if we owed him the money. Jake and I decided not to fund his half-baked idea. Max had no business experience, no plan, and no respect. When Jake told him, Max erupted. Not at us, but at Karen and Linda, Jake's mother. He complained we weren't supporting him, making us seem unreasonable. Karen and Linda got involved, guilting us to support his dreams and uphold our promise. Jake firmly explained we'd pay for college, but not a mysterious business. They tried to guilt us, but we held firm. Max's business never materialized. After Max's business flopped, he came crawling back, asking us to cover his college tuition. We did, easily swayed, but his attitude shifted. He became cold and distant, barely speaking to us at family gatherings, giving short, one-word answers, with no thanks. It felt like we were suddenly beneath him. I realized then that helping them might have been a mistake. It felt like we were dealing with entitled individuals who only cared about the money. This was just the beginning of problems. After Max's business fiasco, things were awkward, but we thought we'd move past it. He was in college, and we were paying. Then, Karen invited us to Lucas's 17th birthday dinner. I wasn't thrilled. Things were tense. Jake thought it best to go for family peace, so I agreed, but I had a sinking feeling. We arrived, and initially, everything seemed normal. Max was distant, barely speaking, avoiding eye contact. I tried to ignore it and focus on Lucas's day. Halfway through dinner, Lucas dropped a bomb. Out of nowhere, he looked at me and said, "How could Jake even find you attractive? You're so old and ugly." I froze, utterly speechless. Jake was on his feet instantly, furious. "What the hell did you just say?" he demanded. The table fell silent. The worst part, Karen, Max, and Linda were all if it were the funniest joke. They didn't care about my humiliation. Jake ordered Lucas to apologize right now. Lucas just smirked. "What? It was just a joke." My face burned with anger. It wasn't a joke, and they all knew it. I turned to Karen, hoping for intervention, but she shrugged. "Come on, it's his birthday. Don't ruin the night over something so small. He's just a kid. Just a kid. He's 17. He knew exactly what he was doing." Jake was livid, again demanding an apology or we'd leave. Lucas grinned. Karen sat idly, and Linda chimed in with her "people can have opinions" nonsense. That was it. Jake stood, grabbed my hand, declaring, "We're leaving. This conversation isn't going anywhere until you all apologize to her." As we rose, Linda grabbed my arm, pulling me back. "Come on, it's his birthday. Don't make a big deal. He didn't mean anything by it." She actually told me I should know how to handle criticism from kids. I yanked my arm away. "He's not a kid, and even if he were, it's your job to teach him some manners." Lucas and Max smirked, finding it all a game. "It's not funny. You guys are mean, and one day you're going to pay for treating people like this." I walked out, Jake fuming behind me. In the car, my anger bubbled. I was shaking, not from Lucas's words, but from everyone else's reaction, acting like I was overreacting. We drove home in silence, both furious. It didn't stop there. A week later, Karen and Linda showed up unannounced, attempting a fake apology. Lucas never apologized. This was a wake-up call. I realized that no matter how much we helped, no matter how much we gave, they didn't respect or care about us. Things were never going to be the same. After the birthday dinner disaster, Jake and I distanced ourselves from Karen and the boys. We were done with the disrespect, but they eventually came crawling back, not with genuine apologies, but because they wanted something from us. A week after the dinner, I found Karen and Linda arguing with Jake in our living room. I knew it would be bad, so I went to our bedroom. Done with their excuses and fake apologies, Karen followed me to the bedroom with Linda, starting with tired lines. "We're so sorry. We talked to Lucas. He feels terrible." I didn't believe it. Where is Lucas then? If he's so sorry, why isn't he here apologizing himself? Karen mumbled. "He's too embarrassed." Lucas wasn't embarrassed. He was full of himself. They were there for money. Soon enough, Karen stated, "Lucas is graduating high school and wants to go to college. We're hoping you'll help with tuition like Lily." I stared, shocked by their audacity. I finally said, "We're not paying for anything until Lucas apologizes. Not through you. He needs to come here and say it to my face. Until that happens, don't ask us for anything." Karen and Linda were stunned. Karen tried to backtrack, arguing Lucas shouldn't be punished or miss college for his brother's mistake, but Lucas was complicit. He laughed along. I felt no pity. Jake chimed in, "And respect goes both ways. We're not giving a cent until your sons grow up and learn respect." Karen started crying, claiming she was struggling, and we were unfair, punishing the family for a small mistake. I snapped. "A small mistake? Calling me ugly and laughing isn't small. That's disrespectful and hurtful. Your defense makes it worse. If you want help, your kids need consequences." Linda tried to calm things, using the "we're family, forgive and move on" speech. I was over it. "No, until your sons show real remorse and respect, we're not paying. Figure this out yourselves." The conversation went in circles, with Karen and Linda trying every angle, but Jake and I stood firm. We wouldn't be guilted. We'd been generous. This was the thanks. They left, Karen crying, Linda annoyed. Jake and I sat in silence. It felt like we'd crossed a line. Things wouldn't go back. And I was okay with that. We'd spent too long trying to please everyone, being the good family, but it didn't matter if we weren't respected. Karen, Lucas, Max, they didn't appreciate us. They expected our help, acted entitled. That day, we made it clear, respect is earned, not given. We wouldn't support those who didn't show it. A weight lifted. I wasn't worried about making them happy, only what was right for us. It felt good. After we cut them off, I thought we'd have peace, but with people like them, that's not how it goes. They didn't leave us alone. It didn't take long for them to try different guilt tactics. This time, we didn't cave. About a week after our confrontation, my phone exploded with texts from Linda, then Karen. Long messages, begging us to let bygones be bygones. More guilt trips. I didn't respond. Neither did Jake. We wouldn't fall for it. We'd made our decision. They wouldn't wangle their way back. A couple of days later, Karen showed up at Jake's work unannounced. She sat in the lobby for over an hour, waiting. Jake found out, but he didn't go down. He told the receptionist he was busy. Karen left, realizing her guilt trip wouldn't work. But it wasn't over. A few days later, I got a message from Lily, Karen's oldest daughter. We actually liked Lily. She was respectful and hardworking. Unlike Max and Lucas, she'd moved away for work and was doing great. After that disaster of a family event, Jake and I knew we were done with Karen, Max, Lucas, and pretty much anyone who thought we'd just keep putting up with their crap. But of course, they didn't make it easy to cut ties. Karen and Linda kept trying to contact us as if they could somehow undo all the disrespect with a few fake apologies. One day, about a week after the family event, I was at home, minding my own business, when my phone started blowing up with texts. First, it was Linda, then Karen. They both sent long messages, practically begging us to let bygones be bygones and move past this. I didn't even have to read the whole thing to know what it was. More guilt trips, more attempts to make us feel bad for not being forgiving enough. I didn't respond. Neither did Jake. We weren't about to fall into that trap again. We'd already made our decision, and we weren't going to let them wangle their way back into our lives, just because they needed something from us. Then, a couple of days later, Karen showed up at Jake's work. She didn't text, didn't call, just showed up as if that would somehow fix everything. She sat in the lobby for over an hour, waiting for Jake to come out and talk to her. But when Jake found out she was there, he didn't even bother going down. He told the receptionist to let her know he was busy and couldn't see her. Karen left after a while, probably realizing her guilt trip tactic wasn't going to work this time. But that wasn't the end of it. A few days later, I got a message from Lily, Karen's oldest daughter. Now, Lily was always the one we actually liked. She was respectful, she worked hard, and she didn't seem to have that same entitled attitude that Max and Lucas had. She had moved away for work and was doing great, so we didn't expect to hear from her. Lily's message wasn't like her mother's or brother's. She started by genuinely apologizing for her brother's behavior, especially Lucas's. She said she was embarrassed by how they acted and understood why we were upset. She went on to explain how much our support had meant to her, and that she felt terrible that her family had treated us with such disrespect. Lily then asked if there was anything she could do to help bridge the divide, even offering to talk to Max and Lucas herself. It was clear her apology was sincere. Jake and I were touched by Lily's message. It was a stark contrast to the insincere apologies from Karen and Linda. We discussed it and decided to respond. Jake called Lily and thanked her for her honesty and genuine concern. He explained that while we appreciated her efforts, we needed to maintain our distance from Max and Lucas for a while. We made it clear that our decision didn't include her. We valued her and her appreciation. This opened a new line of communication with Lily, which was a small comfort amidst all the family drama. Lily understood and agreed. She didn't push or argue, which solidified our positive view of her. Despite the continued silence from Karen, Max, and Linda, we felt a sense of relief. We drew a clear boundary, and while it was painful, it was necessary for our peace of mind. We focused on our lives, work, and each other, trying to move past the resentment. Months turned into a year, and we had no direct contact with Max or Lucas. It was quiet, almost eerily so, but a much-needed calm. Then, out of the blue, we received a formal-looking letter. It wasn't from Karen, Linda, Max, or Lucas, but from a lawyer. My heart immediately sank. I knew this couldn't be good. Jake opened it, and as he read, his face turned a shade of crimson I hadn't seen in years. He handed it to me, his hand trembling slightly. The letter stated that Max and Lucas were suing us for breach of contract. They claimed we had a verbal agreement to pay for all their college education, indefinitely, and that by cutting them off, we were violating that agreement. We were flabbergasted. A verbal agreement? We never, in a million years, said we'd pay for all their education, let alone indefinitely. Our intention was to help them get started. As we did with Lily, this was pure fabrication, a desperate attempt to strong-arm us into giving them money. The letter demanded a significant sum, threatening further legal action if we didn't comply. It was unbelievable. But then again, nothing these boys did really surprised me anymore. They were truly entitled. Jake and I immediately contacted our own lawyer. We explained the entire situation, from our initial offer to help, to Max's business fiasco, the birthday dinner incident, and their continued harassment. Our lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Sarah, listened patiently. When we finished, she just shook her head. "This is outrageous," she said. "They don't have a leg to stand on. A verbal agreement for indefinite financial support? That's laughable." Sarah advised us not to respond directly to their lawyer, but to let her handle everything. She sent a very stern letter back, completely refuting their claims and outlining our long history of generous, voluntary financial support. She pointed out that our assistance was a gift, not an obligation, and that their attempts at extortion would be met with serious legal repercussions. We felt a surge of relief. Finally, someone was on our side who could speak their language. For a while, things went silent again. We figured Sarah's letter had scared them off. But then, a few weeks later, we received another letter. This time, it wasn't a demand for money, but a court summons. They were actually going through with it. Max and Lucas were suing us. It was unbelievable. The entire situation was becoming a circus, fueled by their rage. We braced ourselves for a difficult battle, but we were determined not to back down. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about standing up for ourselves. The day of the court hearing arrived, and I was a nervous wreck. But Jake was calm and resolute. Karen, Max, Lucas, and Linda were all there, looking smug and confident. Their lawyer presented their evidence, which consisted mostly of text messages where Max had asked for money in our old bank, statements showing our previous tuition payments. It was flimsy, to say the least, but they tried to paint a picture of us as cruel, wealthy relatives abandoning their struggling family. Our lawyer, Sarah, was brilliant. She systematically dismantled their case. She highlighted that our payments were indeed gifts, clearly marked as such on bank transfers where possible, and that there was no written contract or explicit verbal agreement for ongoing, indefinite support. She brought up the birthday dinner incident, using it to show their disrespect, and how it directly led to our decision to withdraw support. Max and Lucas looked increasingly uncomfortable as she exposed their sense of entitlement. The judge listened intently. When it was their turn, Max and Lucas stammered and struggled to answer Sarah's pointed questions about their business plan and their lack of a formal agreement. They looked foolish, unprepared, and frankly lazy. Karen and Linda kept trying to interject, but the judge quickly shut them down. It was clear the judge was seeing through their flimsy accusations. After closing arguments, the judge delivered his verdict. He ruled decisively in our favor. He stated there was no evidence of a binding contract for indefinite financial support, and that our previous payments were clear acts of generosity. He condemned Max and Lucas's actions as an abuse of that generosity and a frivolous lawsuit. He even ordered them to pay a portion of our legal fees due to the lack of merit in their case. The look on Max and Lucas's faces was priceless, pure shock and disbelief. Karen and Linda looked devastated. It was a victory, but a bittersweet one. We had won, but at the cost of completely severing ties with that side of the family. As we left the courtroom, Max, still seething, yelled, "You'll regret this." I just shook my head. We had no regrets. We finally had peace. The lawsuit put a definitive end to our relationship with Karen, Max, and Lucas. They never contacted us again, and we never heard from their lawyer either. Linda tried once more to mediate, but Jake politely told her our decision was final. It was a painful chapter, but one that ultimately taught us valuable lessons about boundaries, respect, and protecting our peace. We still maintain a good relationship with Lily, who continues to be a wonderful niece. Our lives are quieter now, but filled with more genuine connections, free from the constant drama and entitlement. The silence that followed the court ruling was deafening at first. For years, our lives had revolved, in part, around supporting Karen's family, and then later, around the escalating conflict. Suddenly, that constant low hum of worry and frustration was gone. It felt strange. We realized just how much emotional energy we had been expending on trying to appease people who clearly had no respect for us. In the months that followed, Jake and I spent a lot of time reflecting on the entire ordeal. We talked about our motivations for helping them in the first place, our desire to fill a void left by not having children, and how that desire might have inadvertently led us to tolerate unacceptable behavior. We acknowledged our part in enabling their entitlement, particularly after Max's initial business fiasco. It was a difficult but necessary conversation, helping us to process the hurt and betrayal. One evening, Lily called, her voice hesitant. She told us Max and Lucas were struggling. Max had dropped out of college, unable to afford it, and Lucas was considering not going at all. Karen was apparently beside herself, constantly complaining about their financial woes and blaming us. Lily expressed her sadness, not for our decision, but for her brother's inability to take responsibility. She said she felt caught in the middle but fully supported our need for peace. We reassured Lily that she wasn't caught in the middle, and that her relationship with us was separate from her brother's actions. We reiterated our respect for her hard work and independent spirit. While we felt a twinge of sadness for Max and Lucas's situation, it was overshadowed by a firm resolve. Their struggles were a direct consequence of their choices and their families' enabling not our lack of generosity. We had given them opportunities. It was up to them to seize them respectfully. Our lives truly began to flourish after we fully disentangled ourselves. With the financial burden lifted and the emotional drain gone, we found ourselves with more time and resources to invest in ourselves and our marriage. We started traveling more, pursuing hobbies we'd put on hold, and strengthening relationships with friends and other family members who genuinely valued us. The peace of mind was immeasurable, a stark contrast to the constant anxiety that had permeated our lives for years.